If you had billions of dollars, what would you buy? A few houses, a nice car, maybe a boat? Well, for Jeff Bezos, the answer is all of the above. This dude's got money to burn, and he's not afraid to spend it. From his $80 million NYC penthouse to his $65 million private jets, Bezos is living the high life, and his family is along for the ride. But just how deep do Bezos's pockets go? They're basically bottomless. This man's got more cash than most countries, and he ain't afraid to flash it. We're talking mansions on mansions, a yacht so big it's practically a floating city, and a car collection that would make even the most hardcore gearheads drool. Luxury vehicles. Let's talk about Bezos's cars for a second. No, really, this guy's got a collection that'll make your jaw drop. We're talking rare, expensive, and just plain crazy. Like, have you ever seen a car with a built-in aquarium? Yeah, me neither, but I wouldn't be surprised if Bezos has one stashed away somewhere. And speaking of stashed away, let's talk about Spot Mini. What's Spot Mini, you ask? Oh, just a freaking robot dog that Bezos keeps in his fleet of luxury vehicles. I kid you not, this dude has a robotic canine companion that he brings out to impress his billionaire buddies at fancy conferences. Can you imagine rolling up to a party with a robot dog by your side? Talk about making an entrance. But Spot Mini ain't just for show. This high-tech pup can do all sorts of cool tricks, like opening doors and navigating rough terrain. It's like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, and Bezos is living the dream. Who needs a regular old pet when you can have a cutting-edge robot that'll make all your neighbors jealous? Of course, Spot Mini is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Bezos's love for all things high-tech and expensive. He's got a whole fleet of luxury cars that would make any gearhead drool. We're talking rare models, custom paint jobs, and all the bells and whistles you can imagine. It's like he's got his own personal car show and we're all just spectators. But here's the thing, as impressive as Bezos's car collection is, it's just a drop in the bucket compared to his other toys. I'm talking yachts, private jets, and mansions that'll make your head spin. Sailing into extravagance. This man's got a floating palace that'll make the Queen of England jealous. Let me introduce you to Kourou, Bezos's $500 million super yacht. Yeah, you heard that right, $500 million on a boat. But this ain't your grandpa's fishing dinghy. Kourou is a whopping 417 feet long and has not one, not two, but three towering masts. It's like a skyscraper on water, and it's all Bezos's. But size ain't everything, right? Wrong. Kourou's got it all. Luxury living spaces decked out with the finest furnishings money can buy, a pool deck that'll make you feel like you're in a five-star resort, and enough room for 18 of Bezos's closest friends and family. It's like a floating mansion, and Bezos is the king of the castle. But here's where things get really interesting. Remember how I mentioned Bezos's love for all things high-tech? Well, Kourou's got a sculpture on the prow that looks suspiciously like Bezos's fiancée, Lauren Sanchez. But don't worry, folks. Sanchez says it's actually a representation of Frasier, one of Bezos's favorite mythological figures. Nothing says romance like a giant statue of your girl on the front of your yacht, am I right? But wait, there's more. Kourou's got a second yacht, Abiona, that follows it around like a puppy. This 75-meter support vessel has a helipad, extra crew quarters, and even enclosed helicopter accommodation. Because why have one yacht when you can have two, right? Of course, not everyone's a fan of Bezos's floating extravagance. When Kourou was being built, there was a plan to dismantle a historic bridge in the Netherlands just to let the yacht pass through. Needless to say, the locals weren't too happy about that, but Bezos is a man who gets what he wants, and eventually Kourou was secretly towed out of the area. Crisis averted. Kourou finally set sail in April 2023, cruising from the Netherlands to Gibraltar. Bezos and Sanchez were spotted living it up on the coast of Spain just before they got engaged. And in August, they threw an engagement party on the yacht that was attended by some of the world's wealthiest people, like Bill Gates, Whitney Wolfe Herd, Ari Emanuel, and even Leonardo DiCaprio. Sky-high opulence. When it comes to the skies, Bezos is soaring high above the rest with his own fleet of private jets. And we're not talking about your run-of-the-mill Cessnas here. Oh no, Bezos has got himself not one, but two Gulfstream G650ER jets. These bad boys are the epitome of luxury and advanced tech, and they come with a price tag that'll make your eyes water. Let's start with the basics. The Gulfstream G650ER is powered by two Rolls-Royce BR 725 engines, each cranking out a massive 16,900 pounds of takeoff thrust. That means these jets can fly up to 7,500 nautical miles without breaking a sweat, making them some of the longest-range private jets in the world. And when it comes to speed, the G650ER ain't no slouch either. It can climb to heights of 51,000 feet and hit speeds between Mach 0.85 and 0.925, leaving other private jets in the dust. But it's not just about performance with Bezos's jets. The interior of the G650ER is where the real magic happens. We're talking unparalleled luxury here, with not one, but two lavatories, couches that are certified for takeoff and landing, because who wants to sit in a regular old seat? And seats made of the finest leather money can buy. And let's not forget about the innovative air system that keeps the cabin fresh and comfortable no matter how long the flight. But here's where things get really crazy. The G650ER has 16 giant panoramic windows that offer views that'll take your breath away. It's like flying in a glass bubble, except this bubble is decked out with every luxury you can imagine. And if you're wondering how much one of these bad boys will set you back, brace yourself. The starting price for a Gulfstream G650ER is a cool $65 million, but with all the optional upgrades Bezos has added, who knows how much he's actually shelled out. Now I know what you're thinking. With all this talk of private jets, what about helicopters? Well, details are a bit scarce on that front, but let's be real. When you're a high-profile billionaire like Bezos, helicopters are just part of the package. It's like having a personal chauffeur, except instead of a car, it's a whirlybird that can take you anywhere you want to go. But as impressive as Bezos's air fleet is, it's just one piece of the puzzle when it comes to his extravagant lifestyle. Because when you're one of the richest men in the world, you don't just have a house or two. Oh no, you've got a real estate portfolio that spans the globe, with properties so jaw-dropping they'll make you question everything you thought you knew about luxury living. From the stunning Medina estate to the historic Warner estate, Bezos's mansions are the stuff of legend. Palatial estates. When you're a billionaire like Bezos, you don't just settle for a regular old house. No, you've got properties so stunning they'll make your jaw drop and your eyes pop out of your head. First up, we've got the Medina estate in Washington. This ain't your average suburban home, folks. We're talking about a 29,000 square foot mega mansion that cost Bezos a cool $10 million back in 1998. But that was just the beginning. Bezos sunk another $28 million into renovations, turning this already impressive pad into a full-blown compound with a 500 square foot caretaker's cottage and a main house that's bigger than most people's entire neighborhoods. But Bezos didn't stop there. In 2020, he dropped a staggering $165 million on the Warner estate in Beverly Hills. This Georgian-style mansion was built back in the 1930s for Jack Warner, the big shot behind Warner Brothers. And let me tell you, it's got everything a billionaire could want. Sprawling terraces, lush gardens, not one but two guest houses, a tennis court, and even a 9-hole golf course. It's like having your own private country club, and Bezos is the king of the green. But what about when Bezos wants to get away from the West Coast? Well, he's got that covered too. In 2019, he scooped up 3 apartments in New York City's swanky Century building for a cool $80 million. But 3 apartments just wasn't enough for Bezos, so he added a 4th for another $16 million. And what did he do with all that space? He combined them into one massive 17,000 square foot penthouse that's got everything from a gourmet kitchen to a private ballroom. And if that wasn't enough, Bezos also owns a piece of history in Washington, D.C. He dropped $23 million on the former textile museum and turned it into a 27,000 square foot mansion that's got neoclassical design elements, top-of-the-line entertainment facilities, and gardens that'll make you feel like you're in the middle of a botanical wonderland. But here's the thing about Bezos's real estate portfolio. It's not just about the size or the price tag. Each of these properties has its own unique character and charm. The Medina estate is all about that Pacific Northwest vibe, with its lush greenery and stunning views of Lake Washington. The Warner estate is old Hollywood glamour at its finest, with its classic architecture and sprawling grounds, and the New York City penthouse inside the Bezos family. But let's take a step back and peek behind the curtain at the Bezos family. Sure, Jeff's got more money than he knows what to do with, but what about the people closest to him? Well, for starters, there's his ex-wife, Mackenzie Scott. These two were married for a whopping 25 years before calling it quits in 2019. But don't worry, it was all very amicable. So amicable, in fact, that Mackenzie walked away with a cool $38 billion in the divorce settlement. That's right, billion with a B. But Mackenzie's not just sitting on that money like a dragon guarding its hoard. Oh no, she's been putting it to good use. She signed the giving pledge, promising to donate the majority of her wealth to charity. And she's been true to her word, having already given away over $10 billion to various causes. Talk about a woman on a mission. But what about the Bezos kids? Well, that's where things get a little more mysterious. Jeff and Mackenzie have 4 children together, 3 sons and an adopted daughter. But good luck trying to find out much about them. Bezos is notoriously private when it comes to his family, and he's kept a tight lid on any information about his kids. All we really know is that his eldest son is named Preston and was born in 2000. As for the other 3, your guess is as good as mine. But just because Bezos is private about his kids doesn't mean he's a total recluse. In fact, he's been pretty darn public about his relationship with Lauren Sanchez, a news anchor he started dating in 2019. And let me tell you, these two are the definition of a power couple. They just got engaged in May 2023, and it's safe to say that they're living the high life together. But as much as Bezos loves his fancy toys and his glamorous lifestyle, he's still a family man at heart. He and Mackenzie have made it a priority to co-parent their children amicably, even after the divorce. And according to reports, Mackenzie was the one who primarily cared for the kids, while Jeff was busy building Amazon into the behemoth it is today. Of course, it's not just his immediate family that's been impacted by Bezos' wealth. His parents, Jacqueline and Ted Jorgensen, separated when Jeff was just a baby. But when Jacqueline remarried Miguel Bezos, he adopted Jeff as his own. And let me tell you, Miguel has been a rock for Jeff throughout his life, supporting him both emotionally and financially as he built his empire. And then there's Jeff's siblings, his brother Mark and his sister Christina. Not much is known about them, but you can bet they're living pretty comfortably thanks to their brother's success. But here's the thing about the Bezos family. They may be richer than most of us can even fathom, but at the end of the day, they're still just a family. A family with its own ups and downs, its own challenges and triumphs. And while we may never know all the details of their private lives, one thing's for sure, being a part of the Bezos clan sure ain't dull. A billionaire's lifestyle unveiled. When you're Jeff Bezos, your day-to-day ain't nothing like the average Joe's. This guy's got a routine that's all about maximizing his time and enjoying the finer things in life. I'm talking about starting his mornings off right with a healthy breakfast and some quality reading time. No snooze button for Bezos. He's up and at 'em without an alarm clock, ready to tackle the day head on. But don't think it's all work and no play for this billionaire. Bezos knows the importance of balancing his professional grind with some well-deserved personal time. That's why he avoids those pesky early morning meetings, instead opting to spend precious moments with his loved ones. I mean, when you've got the kind of cash he does, you can afford to prioritize family over everything else. And speaking of affording things, Bezos has got some seriously unique ways of enjoying his fortune. Take his robot dog, Spot Mini, for example. This ain't your average pet, folks. We're talking about a high-tech, cutting-edge machine that costs a pretty penny. But for Bezos, it's just another way to indulge his fascination with the future and all the wild possibilities it holds. But why stop at robot dogs when you can pilot a giant robot yourself? That's right, Bezos was spotted at the Amazon Mars conference taking control of a 13-foot-tall behemoth called Method 2. This guy's got a serious penchant for the extraordinary, and he's not afraid to show it. Of course, when you're as loaded as Bezos, you don't just settle for run-of-the-mill vacations. Oh no, he's all about those exotic getaways that most of us can only dream of. Picture this, cruising the high seas on a yacht that's longer than a football field, complete with lavish living spaces, a sprawling pool deck, and even a sculpture of his favorite mythological figure. I'm telling you, the Kourou is a floating palace fit for a king. But even kings need a way to jet around the globe, and Bezos has got that covered too. His Gulfstream G650ER private jets are the epitome of luxury travel. These bad boys can fly over 7,500 nautical miles without breaking a sweat, all while keeping passengers cozy in plush leather seats and breathing in that sweet, sweet 100% fresh air. And the best part, Bezos owns not one, but two of these magnificent machines, spending billions. If you can throw a few $100 million at some truly wild investments, I'm talking about the kind of purchases that make you go, he spent how much on what now? Take Bezos's fascination with the 10,000-year clock, for example. This ain't your grandpa's cuckoo clock, folks. We're talking about a massive undertaking designed to keep ticking for a casual 10 millennia. And the price tag? A cool $42 million. But for Bezos, it's not just about the money. It's about leaving a legacy, a reminder to future generations to think long-term and consider the impact of their actions. But if you thought the clock was a head-scratcher, just wait until you hear about his real estate portfolio. Bezos has been scooping up properties like they're going out of style. From the $165 million Warner estate in Beverly Hills to the $80 million trio of apartments in New York City, this guy knows how to make a statement with his purchases. And let's not forget about the $23 million former textile museum in Washington, D.C., which he transformed into a lavish mansion complete with all the bells and whistles. But Bezos isn't just about the glitz and glamour. He's also got a soft spot for the great outdoors. Take his massive 420,000-acre property in West Texas, for example. This ain't your average ranch, people. It's the primary spaceport for Blue Origin, Bezos's very own suborbital spaceflight company. And if you thought launching rockets was impressive, just wait until you hear about the main event. Bezos himself blasting off into space on the first human flight from the ranch in July 2021. Talk about taking your investments to new heights. But perhaps one of Bezos's most surprising purchases was the Washington Post. In 2013, he dropped a casual $250 million to acquire the renowned newspaper. But don't worry, he's not trying to control the media or anything. In fact, he's been pretty hands-off, allowing the existing leadership to maintain editorial independence. For Bezos, it was all about recognizing the value of the Post's reputation for hard-hitting journalism and its influential role in shaping public discourse. And then there's the Kourou. This ain't your average yacht, folks. We're talking about a 417-foot behemoth that cost a staggering $500 million to build. With luxurious living spaces, a pool deck, and even a sculpture of Bezos's lady love Lauren Sanchez, this floating palace is the epitome of extravagance. And as if one yacht wasn't enough, Bezos has got a trusty support vessel, the Abiona, tagging along for the ride. Comparison with fellow billionaires. Now I know what you're thinking. Sure, Bezos is loaded, but how does he stack up against the other big shots out there? Well, let me tell you. When it comes to the Billionaire Boys Club, Bezos is in a league of his own. Take Bill Gates, for example. He's been holding it down as one of the richest dudes on the planet for decades, but even he can't touch Bezos's net worth. And then there's Elon Musk, the Tesla mastermind who's been giving Bezos a run for his money in the wealth department. But as of February 2024, Bezos is still sitting pretty at the top with a mind-boggling $167.6 billion to his name. But it's not just about the number of zeros in their bank accounts. When you really start comparing these guys, you start to see some pretty wild differences in how they choose to spend their dough. Gates, for one, has been all about that philanthropy life. He's been pouring a huge chunk of his fortune into the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, trying to make the world a better place and all that. But Bezos, he's been catching some heat for not throwing as much cash at charity as some people think he should, given just how stinking rich he is. And then there's Musk, who's been giving Bezos a serious run for his money in the space race. Both of these guys have been pouring billions into their own rocket companies, but they've got some pretty different ideas about what they want to do up there. Musk's SpaceX is all about that interplanetary travel, trying to get humans on Mars and beyond. But Bezos's Blue Origin, they're focused on the suborbital game, sending tourists on short little joyrides to the edge of space. But when it comes down to it, Bezos's spending habits are in a whole other stratosphere compared to his fellow billionaires. I mean, have you seen this guy's real estate portfolio? He's got mansions on mansions, from that $23 million pad in DC to the sprawling estates in Beverly Hills and beyond. And don't even get me started on his toys. Robot dogs, giant yachts, private jets, you name it, Bezos has probably got it. But here's the thing. As much as Bezos loves to splash his cash on all things extravagant, he's also got a bit of a reputation for being a tough boss. Just ask the folks over at Amazon, who've been making noise about some pretty intense working conditions and labor disputes. It's a strange contrast, isn't it? On one hand, you've got a guy who can buy anything he wants, whenever he wants. But on the other hand, you've got a company that's been accused of not always treating its workers like gold. Speaking of Amazon though, there's no denying the impact Bezos has had on the world through his business ventures. I mean, can you imagine a world without prime shipping? It's crazy to think about how much he's changed the game when it comes to e-commerce and all that. But with great power comes great responsibility, and some folks are wondering if Bezos is doing enough to give back to the world that's made him so insanely wealthy. Philanthropy and controversies. Sure, the guy's thrown some serious cash at causes like fighting climate change with his $10 billion Bezos Earth Fund. And hey, he's even tossed a cool $120 million to help out the homeless. But for a dude with a net worth that could make Scrooge McDuck blush, some folks are scratching their heads at the fact that he's still sitting on over 90% of his wealth. I mean, just look at the Giving Pledge, that little club started by Bill Gates and Warren Buffett where the world's richest pinkies swear to give away most of their moolah. Bezos? He's been giving that a hard pass, opting instead to go his own way with a vague promise to maybe eventually hand over half his fortune. But actions speak louder than words, and so far the numbers just aren't adding up. And then there are the controversies, the kind that make you go, yikes, maybe money can't buy everything. Like those pesky labor disputes over at Amazon, where workers are making noise about less than ideal conditions, and the big boss man himself has been caught making some not so nice remarks. It's all right there in Brad Stone's tell-all book, The Everything Store, painting a picture of a guy who might be a whiz with numbers, but could use a refresher on the whole treat your employees like humans thing. But hey, nobody's perfect, right? And when you're sitting on a mountain of cash the size of Bezos's, it's easy to get a little lost in the luxury. The fancy cars, the colossal yachts, the mansions that could house a small country. It's a lifestyle that most of us can only dream of. But is it all just a distraction from the bigger questions, the ones that ask what kind of impact he's really making on the world? Because at the end of the day, Bezos isn't just a billionaire with a taste for the finer things. He's a guy with the power to shape industries, to change lives, to leave a legacy that goes beyond the zeros in his bank account. And as he continues to navigate the choppy waters of public opinion, the choices he makes, both with his wallet and his words, will be the ones that define him. Extravagance and influence. You thought you knew about extravagance. You ain't seen nothing yet. When you're the kind of rich that makes other rich people look like peasants, you don't just buy things. You shape the world around you. Take Bezos's art collection, for example. This guy's got taste that would make the masters weep. We're talking Rembrandts, Monets, Picassos, the real deal. And it's not just about having pretty pictures on the wall. Nah, for Bezos, it's about the thrill of the hunt. He's been known to drop millions on a single painting at auction, outbidding museum curators and fellow billionaires alike. It's like a high-stakes game of finders keepers, and Bezos always comes out on top. But it's not just about the flex. Bezos's art investments are a reflection of his broader influence on the world. When he buys a piece, it's not just about adding to his collection, it's about shaping the market itself. Prices go up, trends shift, and suddenly everyone's clamoring for a piece of what Bezos has deemed worthy. It's the ultimate power move, the ability to redefine value with the swipe of a black card. And don't even get me started on his real estate portfolio. Bezos doesn't just buy houses, he buys entire neighborhoods. Take his sprawling estate in Medina, Washington. This place is so big, it's practically a city unto itself. And then there's his Beverly Hills compound, a $165 million slice of paradise that makes the Playboy Mansion look like a frat house. But it's not just about the square footage. For Bezos, real estate is a way to shape the very fabric of society. When he snaps up properties in up-and-coming areas, he's not just investing in a place to lay his head, he's betting on the future. He's saying, this is where the action's going to be, and lo and behold, the world follows suit. Of course, all that influence doesn't come without its fair share of controversy. Bezos' spending habits have been the subject of plenty of raised eyebrows over the years, from his lackluster approach to philanthropy to his penchant for scooping up media outlets like their Pokemon cards. Some folks see it as a dangerous concentration of power in the hands of one man, while others just shrug and say, hey, when you've got it, flaunt it. But love him or hate him, there's no denying the impact Bezos has had on the world. His every move is watched, analyzed and dissected from the boardroom to the auction house. He's not just a billionaire, he's a force of nature, a one-man tidal wave that can reshape entire industries with a single tweet.